Hey guys, welcome back to the Thriving in Love podcast, the podcast that challenges status quo so couples can thrive as their most authentic selves. But today we're not talking about relationships, we are talking about women's health. So I have Dr. Millie Mohan here on the show with us today, a physician and holistic wellness coach helping burnt out women beat exhaustion, stress eating, anxiety, and weight gain. Having healed from her own health crisis through the power of lifestyle and nutrition, she embarked on a mission to empower women to heal from within and get in the driver's seat of their health for good. She believes true wellness is the greatest gift we can give ourselves, and the power to create a lifelong foundation of vitality is in our hands. Today, I want to talk about her career transition from medicine to holistic wellness as an entrepreneur, and just a little more about her journey of being a South Asian woman who has left medicine to start her own path. So, Millie, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to dive into your story and your journey today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I love this topic. I love, talking about, especially within the realms of being a South Asian woman. There's a lot of things that we don't talk about. And yeah, I love having the space to be able to empower other people and have these conversations that I really feel like we should be having more of.
I agree. And guys, if you haven't checked out Millie's Instagram, it is linked below. Just go do a deep dive in it because that's how I found her. And as soon as I found her content, I finally felt like it's so refreshing to hear a brown woman talking about things that has been so talked about by white women who don't really talk about the full spectrum of what it means to go from struggling and surviving to a more holistic path. So, Millie, I know it's not easy, right? Stepping up, creating the content. I know what bothers me about it the most is like when my family sees it, what are they going to think? Why am I doing this? Who do I think I am? All of those thoughts come up. So, how has that been for you navigating those like traditional norms?
Yeah, it's been tough. It's definitely tough. I have all the same thoughts, especially the what the hell is she doing and who does she think she is? I feel like no matter what phase of life you go in, no matter how many credentials you have or what have you, experiences you have under your belt, it's that imposter syndrome just follows you. And even entering into this entrepreneurial space, showing up as myself online has been really hard. And I talk about it a lot about how I struggle to show up online because it takes so much of my mental energy. Showing up and being really vulnerable and sharing things that are typically private and a lot of people don't talk about it, it does definitely take a toll. Especially when you're thinking in the background, like, oh, what are my aunts going to say? What are my cousins going to think of this? The log kya kahenge? That is always on repeat of like, oh, I hope it's okay. So.
Literally, yes. So what are some things that you do to like combat those thoughts and feelings and that like anxiety?
Yeah. Oh God, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Like I would say over the past year, it has taken a lot of self-reflection and like getting really clear on my why. And I think having a tribe around me, right? Like having the right people to remind me what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why the work I'm doing is important has been so important.
When did you make that transition from medicine to becoming an entrepreneur?
So it's been a year now, a little over a year.
And
Yeah.
what made you go that route? What inspired that shift?
So at the time, I was just feeling honestly really burnt out, really inflamed in my body. I was in my medical training and yeah, I just didn't recognize myself anymore. And it had just gotten to a point where everything was a struggle. Getting out of bed was a struggle. I had so much dread because there was nothing left in the tank, and if you've ever experienced burnout yourself or know anyone who has, like, you will hear people talk about just having this very empty tank. Normal things are suddenly huge, and it seems insurmountable. And you just become numb and apathetic. So it had gotten to a point where I just knew that I needed to prioritize my own health because how can I be helping and healing other people when I could barely, get myself up and out of that? It kind of came to me as like this gut feeling of I need to get control of my health here. Like I don't feel well. I don't feel well in my body. And this could get so much worse. It was a decision that I needed to prioritize myself. And I'd been waiting a long time to do that, like you're constantly kind of following the next milestone and then the next milestone. And it was just a decision that I think finally needed to be made and came after many years, rooted in the fact that I needed to heal.
Talk about imposter syndrome real quick for a second again, because like if we should have imposter syndrome on anything, it's the fact that we're not walking the talk.
Yeah.
not when we are actually walking the talk and sharing it with others.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. It's so funny. I feel like the issue, especially now, is everybody's so visible online, right? So it's so easy to be comparing ourselves with everybody else around us, right? Like,
Yeah,
yes, sure, I have these experiences, and yes, sure, I have this training, but like, oh, look, there's this other person who also has all these things, and look at how great she's doing. So, like, who the hell am I? And I don't know what I'm doing, you know? So I feel like the
totally.
tinnitus is the absolute worst.
Yeah,
And I think that's why everyone walks around with such intense imposter syndrome, because it's too easy to compare ourselves to everyone else's perceived successes, you know? Like we don't
yeah.
see of the failure reel, if you want to call it that. And so yeah, I think a lot of us walk around even though we're doing all the things, or we have a lot to be proud of. It's like this cloud that's all.
So right before, if I start feeling that way when I'm about to record, I tell myself, and I don't know if this is like my higher self telling me this or if it's like, something I've just gotten used to. It's yes, this exists, but someone is waiting to hear it from
Exactly.
your unique point of view. Like
Exactly.
that one person is waiting to hear it exactly the way only you can say it the way you say it. And I'm just like, all right, apples. Like
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm ready. And like kind of like not force it, but like go back to that why of why are we doing this? And it's because as brown women, it's not common that we are out here talking about the things that we are, and we are doing the work of healing and growing and breaking cycles and healing generational curses and all of the above. So, like, I think it's incredibly important for women of color, more of us, to be using our voices and sharing our point of view, even if it's only 1% different than what is already out there.
Yeah, no, I 1000% agree. That is what I try and tell myself as well. That if one person is positively impacted by what I'm doing, then it's worth it. I do feel like, I always say to my friends and, when I'm talking to my sisters, I'm like, representation matters so much to me. I want my nieces and my nephews to see their mussy, their aunt doing these things, stepping out of the bubble, like knowing when you need to prioritize yourself and then stepping back when you're feeling better. Like I want them to see me doing the things that a lot of people aren't doing.
It's easier to take the path that has already been paved out for you, I
Yeah,
think. And
100%.
I think entrepreneurship, just like by definition, is just uncharted waters and like the great unknown.
Yes, it has been, yeah, no one prepared
Um,
for exactly how uncertain it is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
When did you tell your parents, and how did that conversation go?
They kind of had a feeling that this was coming because I was just really sick and I was trying to handle all of this from afar. We were on opposite ends of the country at the time. Yeah, I had been, kind of voicing the fact that I need help. Like, I don't really know. I don't know how to navigate this right now, but I know I don't feel well. And I had been voicing that for a while. So it wasn't a complete shock to them when I did make the decision, but if that's not to say they were happy with it.
Of course.
I think, especially in our culture, like we ask for permission. A big
Hmm.
decision for me was if I try and wait for anyone to tell me I should do this, it's never going to happen. Like I'm never going to prioritize myself because the answer is always going to be, you only have a year left. You only have this left. Like you just finished. Like just keep going. That's always been
Yeah,
the line. And I understand that. Like I know I've definitely said that to my younger sister in times when she struggled and whatnot. But this experience has been a huge experience in learning to give myself the permission that I typically sought elsewhere.
so
Finally
good.
trust myself and trust my gut and know that there is clearly something is going on here. There's a message. My body is trying to tell me something and it's time to listen up. So
Yes.
there's been a learning experience in that.
I love that so much. And it's so true. I love that you said that you actually do it to your little sister and stuff too. And I do believe that our parents do this because they're trying to protect us, because they know the path to entrepreneurship or doing things that are different
Definitely.
is harder. And they don't want us to struggle. Like they didn't do all that they did and come to this country to just have
Exactly.
us struggle.
Sometimes I feel guilty for wanting to prioritize what I want and what I need over what I know they want for me. I feel like the whole discussion of boundaries has been something that's so foreign, at least
Yes.
in my household, like completely foreign.
I was the first to bring up that word in my household.
There's been a lot of growth, I feel like, for everyone going through this experience.
Totally.
family, my loved ones, my friends. Like it has been an evolution for everyone
Yeah.
involved.
So how has that been? Like, what do you do when you are setting these boundaries? Like, I'm sure guilt comes up, shame,
Yeah.
fear, all of those emotions that we're here to transcend. So how do you navigate through those?
Well, I think when it comes to boundaries now, I recognize that I have spent the last however many years of my life not establishing them, and that didn't work for me. Like in this journey, I've really gotten clear on what I value, what I'm passionate about, who I am as a person. And I think part of that realization was recognizing what I need to be able to show up for everyone else in my life. It is important that I will have my wind down time. As much as it surprises people, like I am extroverted, but I actually am also very introverted. And
Yeah,
so
same.
that alone time to be able to recharge, right? And that is like a foreign concept to my eldest sister, who is the truest extrovert, like textbook, cannot be alone, loves being with people. Like we're so different in that regard.
Yeah. Wait, literally my older sister too. Oh,
Maybe it's just the elder sibling thing. I don't know.
who knows?
But it's been this journey of figuring out who I am and recognizing that when I put these boundaries in place, I am just a happier person. And I
Yeah.
show up for other people way better than if I don't, allow myself to have the space or say no to something that I know is going to be draining. I think everyone else has recognized that that leads to a better, happier me. And they've also started to shift and put boundaries in place too. So it kind of has had this ripple effect, but it's definitely causes friction at first when no one understands why and it feels like a attack. But I think everyone is used to it now and they understand, they see the value of it, and like we're slowly shifting. But it's been a journey to get here.
Totally. Do you feel like you've been having to kind of carry that load when it comes to taking the family to that through the journey of evolution?
Yes and no. I feel like with my sisters, we are all very much on the same page. Occasionally we are not on the same page, but like we're quicker, you duke it out and then you're fine.
Yeah,
With the parents, I feel like it's a generational difference, right? So
totally.
trying to explain why I would want to be taking this break and like why this is important and why I want to be an entrepreneur and like explaining these decisions, it takes a lot more time and it takes many discussions and a recognition that like maybe we won't see eye to eye on this or maybe it'll just take time. I don't know, but it definitely has been more of a journey with my parents when it comes to having these hard conversations, them not understanding, feeling frustrated that they don't understand, but you also recognize that like two totally different generations, ways that we were brought up, like you can't blame them for also not fully understanding what we experience now. So
Especially because you're a doctor. And I feel like that's like the greatest pride and joy for an immigrant parent is like, my daughter made it. She's a doctor. She did the hard part. And it's like, why would you now not go to that next level or whatever in your career? So, like, I totally get it from their perspective too. So, how do they feel about your journey now that it's been over a year?
yeah. So I think they have moments of being like, but why? Like just you can work in a hospital, you can do all these things. I think there are still moments of that. But I think through this journey, they've really learned to trust me. It's taken a lot of, growth on their part as well. And they just see how happy I am, how fulfilled I am. They see the impact that I'm having. And I think they're very proud of that. And I think
Yeah.
they also recognize that they can trust me. Like it's not like I've
Mhm.
medicine completely off the table. Like I am thinking about, do I want to return and what does that look like for me now? And I think they can trust now that now seeing the healed version of me, right?
Yeah.
Because when I left a year ago, like I was just in shambles and I was just upset and fried and I wasn't able to have these conversations as well as I
Yeah.
can now. So now I think having seen the evolution, they're like, okay, like she knows what she's doing. She has a good head on her shoulders and we can just trust that it's going to pan out. It was growing pains to get here.
And I love that you say that growing pains because that's how I explain how it has been with me growing like while being married. And like my husband was like, what are you doing? So like I like to see it as like anytime you're getting out of your comfort zone, there's going to be discomfort that comes with that.
Yeah,
And when things are expanding, it's going to cause friction. It's going to cause pain. A
exactly.
lot of people see that as like, oh, I must be doing something wrong because social media loves to be like, oh, growth is beautiful and it's expansion and it's just like peaceful and easeful and this and that. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah. It's
Why were like, oh, just post a course and like you could become a millionaire. And it's like, no, that's not the truth. Why is nobody talking about the truth? Because nobody's going to buy things with the truth.
Very true. Very true.
So, like, how has that been for you on your journey of entrepreneurship? Has it been what you expected it to be? How have you been navigating the challenges of entrepreneurship?
Oh man, it's been challenging. It has definitely been challenging. I feel like
Yeah.
there's no preparation for it, like full understanding of how taxing it can be, you know? Yeah, when you're like a one woman show, you're doing everything, right? And like there's no one to
Yeah.
delegate, there's no one to really ask. This is where I've really, really learned the importance of mentorship and the importance of
Mm,
tribe and surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and, you know, going the places that you want to go. I don't
yeah.
think I fully appreciated how important that was before. And it's been life-changing now that I have that. But prior to that, I was definitely floundering because I was just so overwhelmed. It's not
Yeah.
clear what direction to be going in. You don't really know. You don't know what you don't know. It has been the sharpest learning curve, I would definitely say. But at the same time, and this is why I think people do it, right? Like it's so gratifying and it's
Yeah.
so fulfilling, especially going after something that you're so passionate about, but it's also terrifying. So it's kind of both things. So you're kind of at this tug of
Yeah.
war. And
Well, that's
eventually,
how the expansion happens because you have to feel the total opposite ends of the spectrum in order to grow.
exactly. Yeah, no, I'm grateful for how things are panning out. It has been work.
Do you feel like it has helped you strengthen your relationship with your intuition?
Definitely. Definitely. I feel like this whole journey in the last year has been very much, it's been a becoming almost.
Mm,
Like I've
yeah.
had to unlearn so much about what I just accepted as fact about myself. You know, like I had to
Mm,
get really, really clear. And this is where the pain of growth, you know, was happening for me of like, what beliefs and narratives have I been spinning that don't really belong to me? You know, like what is it that I
that's
actually want?
powerful.
Because I feel like I inherited so much from what everyone around me wanted for me that it was really difficult to untangle what is my voice versus everyone else's, you know?
Yeah.
And for me was like the most difficult part of like identifying who I am, you know, and what is my voice and what the hell do I want, you know? So for
What's
me
your
that
process like for that?
so what has my process been? To be honest, I haven't had a process per se. I feel like when I originally left, my whole focus was healing. Like that was my number one goal. I just wanted to heal. So for me, that meant I needed to slow down. I needed to incorporate mindfulness into my life. I needed to learn to meditate. I needed to do yoga and do all of these things to get in tune with myself because I was so just on the go all the time. And like all of my friends who have known me for a long time know that like I had this anxious habit of like I was always just fidgeting. Now that
Yeah.
I know what I know that my nervous system was just so hyperactive for
Yeah.
years and years and years. And like the many, many lifestyle choices that I was making, which were very common, right? Everyone around me who's in training and postgraduate and all of this, like everyone's doing the same things.
Yeah.
But the long run of those behaviors, it is harmful, right? Like it's not great for our health, our nervous system, all of this.
I love what you're saying, and I completely agree. Where it's like it's slowing down, it's integrating the mindfulness, it's the yoga, it's really understanding that the most important thing is nervous system regulation. Since you are a holistic wellness coach, what are some things that you would recommend a client if they were just starting and doing the work of regulating their nervous system? Would it be like the meditation and the yoga, or is there something else that you recommend?
Yeah, so I would say like the basic that I always start off my clients with is just breath work. People have certain notions of what meditation looks like. And even
Yeah.
myself, moments of really getting like frustrated because it doesn't feel like it's going well or whatever. I go through phases with my meditating journey. But with breath work, like it is such a wonderful tool to be able to hack your nervous system.
Yeah.
And especially if you're doing it regularly. And that alone is incredibly effective, right? I tell my clients when you are feeling triggered, right? Like part of it is also getting clear on what are your triggers, what are the stressors, right, around you, and recognizing how our body actually is quite stressed, whether we recognize that or not. But getting super clear on what are the stressors, what are the triggers, and when that happens, like setting a 3-minute timer on your phone. and just sitting somewhere quiet. You can even be like in public, what have you, but just doing a 3 or 4 second inhale and then doubling the length of your exhale. So
Hmm.
that's like a very, very easy foundational breathwork practice that I start everyone off with. And then kind of growing from there, once you get comfortable with that, there's various other breathwork practices that are a little bit more advanced. Definitely, I would love my clients to start with meditation, but it just depends. If someone's
Yeah.
super anxious and not able to sit still, sometimes that can be more frustrating. So starting them maybe with like a guided meditation or just telling them to go for a walk. Go for a walk. Get off of your phone. That is something that is a non-negotiable when it comes to
Yeah.
working for me, is we need to decrease your screen time. And we need to build some rituals into your life so that you are feeling resilient, right? It's not just about reducing stress. Well, it is about reducing stress, but we also need to build up your vitality.
The vitality to expand our capacity to hold the stress and the discomfort. Can you talk more about that? Because I know so many people who talk about the breath work and how to regulate, but I think what people think is that you're going to reach this place in life where you don't have to deal with any stress anymore and life is going to be blissful and happy and perfect.
Right.
That's not reality. It's not true. And it's impossible because we are human beings experiencing a very real reality. I think the point of it all is to get to a point where we have the resilience and the courage and the capacity. So, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, exactly. I love discussing this with clients because, exactly as you said, I feel like people hope that the stress will just disappear, and that's just not reality, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it's not simply just reducing the stress. We need to build up your reserves to be able to handle the stress. And that's why I create what I call a resiliency toolkit with my clients. And it's a all-in-one stop shop, like of all the tools that they've tried that have worked for them, right? To help reduce the stress. So that's one piece for sure. But then it's also working on building rituals and routines into your day, because I feel like people think wellness is massages and trips and bubble baths and all of these things. And while those things can be, for me, I've seen this time and time again. Wellness comes from the little things that you are doing consistently, day in and day out, right? Like it lives in
Mm.
little moments, those little decisions. Like I want to empower my clients to recognize that no matter how busy you are, even if you are raising kids and have a crazy busy career and all of this, there are ways to build wellness into your schedule, into your life, no matter how chaotic it looks. And that's the work that I do. Like I am helping you figure out how to build routines and rituals and things that feel invigorating for you, no matter what the chaos looks like, because the chaos is always going to be there, right? Like what it is right now, or it transforms into something else. We can't expect to just get rid of stress altogether. That's just never going to happen. Right. And if we try and do that, and if anyone's promising you that they'll be able to do that, it's just inevitably going to lead to failure. Right. So I would rather teach people how to be well regardless. Like let's
I love
start
that.
now while life is a shitstorm. Like if we can get you feeling better and have you feel empowered in the fact that like, hey, I can handle this. Like this isn't so bad. I can definitely do these little things consistently, no matter what life looks like. Like that is a very empowering place to be.
That's amazing. So, do they teach that in the medicine world too? Or is that why you decided to do your own practice?
No. In terms of like conventional training, less so. There is a field of medicine, so like lifestyle medicine, integrative medicine, that is becoming very popular, and it is incorporating all the things that I am discussing now.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like within medicine, it's a different modality, right? Even though we prescribe or we say, like lifestyle changes and all of this, the reality is that we typically, as physicians, don't have enough time to be able to actually get into the nitty gritty, right? And to be able to
Yeah.
actually walk someone from the place of information to transformation, right? And that's what I believe my role is right now as a coach, is to build the bridge, right? So like everyone knows 3 things they should be doing better. Heck, I know things I should be doing better, but it's not that easy to simply implement, right? And if it was, everybody would be healthy. There would be no issues, right? So the issue is in the implementation. And this is where I think coaching shines, right? Like we're looking at your individual situation and we are facing your roadblocks. We are helping you get past those and build sustainable practices that are going to allow you to transform. I think medicine is going to get there. Like I definitely think that this work is incredibly powerful. And when you couple this with conventional medicine, like I think that's amazing. And there's a lot of physicians who are doing that now. And I'm so inspired by them. And that's the work that I want to be doing. I think it takes both. I think there's definitely a role for coaching. It's very, very powerful.
Do you think that there's a world where they would be working together? like coaches and doctors? Is there a place like I would love if there was like a women's clinic that I can go to that gives me a very real science tangible solution and gives me like assigns me a coach to integrate and embody and like, implement all the stuff that I got to do.
It's not so common here in Canada, but in the US it is. There are clinics in the US that have health
Mhm.
coaches and it's well integrated into their practice. And I do think that this will become more common. Like I know if I am to open a clinic in the future, like I definitely am going to be hiring health coaches because I now know how incredible the transformations are when you have a coach on board to help walk people through the steps. So yeah, as of right now in Canada, it's not common. I don't personally know anyone who uses that model, but I know of clinics in the US and physicians who are integrative lifestyle medicine physicians who do the joint approach, and I think it's very effective.
That's exciting. And then what are some things that you would recommend for women to do? Like do you recommend going to see a doctor first or go to a coach first?
Ooh, that's tough. I would say I think everybody needs to be seeing their general physician, right? Like that
Right.
is really important. So finding a GP that you trust, and someone that can be, at least yearly, I would say, making sure you're getting your labs checked and all of this. So there's a role for both. I think absolutely both are essential. If you are able to find an integrative provider who's able to do both, then that's excellent, right?
Right.
But if that's not possible, then yeah, I think there's definitely a role for both. And
Is that
obviously,
what they're called? Integrated providers?
yeah,
Like who do both? Okay, good to know.
yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that they'll do health coaching, but it means that they have a kind of a broader modalities that they use.
When it comes to the feminine health in particular, like, are they understanding the difference between like men and women and like what women need? Because I know from the things I've read and the conversations I've had with people, they try to see it like, I don't know if it's changing now, but from what I am like understanding is that they don't understand like the 28-day cycle compared to the 24-hour cycle. They don't understand our like hormones and, things like that. Like, is that shifting in the medicine space as well?
Oh, it is all things that we are trained on, and I would hope I would hope that people, are aware of those things. It's definitely within our training. Like women's health is an integral part of all of our training. If you are someone who doesn't, deal with women's health at all and you are a specialist in another realm, then it's understandable that that's not something that you're dealing with every day. But yeah, I do think there is a huge piece where, nutrition and lifestyle definitely impacts women's health. And I
Yeah.
think I would love to see there be more integration of that and recognition that there's so much that we can be doing in terms of lifestyle empowered nutrition that is great for women's hormones, right? And is great for all things. I would love to be able to see integration in that realm. And I know that's the work that I want to be doing. Like, I want to be doing women's health with the lens of lifestyle and nutrition and all of this, because it really is so powerful.
Yeah, agreed. Amazing. Thank you. And what would you say is your lifestyle, like optimal way of having your nutrition day? Like, what would you recommend
Right.
for just having like a really good nutrition day?
Really good nutrition day. Well, first of all, I would say sleep. Sleep is essential. You need, ideally, there's obviously periods of time where, let's say you just had a baby and all of this where sleep is difficult, right? But by and large, trying to get that quality 7 to 9 hours is so crucial, especially for your hormones as women. Like that is something that is a non-negotiable. And it's also very important for weight and metabolism. And, if you're someone who struggles with cravings, which is a lot of my clients struggle with that, sleep is like number one. Second of all, starting your day, I think a lot of us run out of the house and we either will not eat or we'll have coffee on an empty stomach. This is really not great. So
Oh, I do that.
yeah, I know a lot of people do. A lot of people do. So trying to have, especially your first meal of the day, I say have PFF, protein, fat, fiber. That's ideal
Mm,
you have with every meal, ideally. And then always having caffeine after a meal because it
okay.
alone will spike your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and that can, make you jittery and all of this. It is like a stress response to the body. And, caffeine on its own can also cause insulin resistance. So trying to have your caffeine with meals, I would definitely say is really important. Yeah, trying to get a good amount of fiber into your body. My personal goal, I try to hit 30 grams of fiber in a day, trying to make sure you're having like adequate protein, 20 to 30 grams of protein with meals if you can. Getting your, greens in whatever capacity. The cruciferous veggies are really, really great for women's hormones and metabolizing estrogen. So trying to have like one serving of that in a day, eating regularly, like not going super long stretches without eating, ideally eating at regular intervals. And then, yeah, just being like kind and gentle with yourself, like if you are craving a piece of cake, have the piece of cake, enjoy it, and like
Yeah.
don't berate yourself over it. Don't, I think we're so harsh on ourselves and we can be so negative. So just being gentle with yourself, knowing that every day is going to be different, especially where we are in our cycle, right? Like we have our 28-day cycle, and it really impacts how we feel mood wise, how we feel like moving, what we feel like eating. It impacts so much. And I don't think a lot of us recognize that.
Yeah.
And when you start to kind of live your life according to your cycles and like cycle syncing and stuff, you realize how powerful your hormones are, because your feelings shift, your mood shifts, your like energy levels shift when you start to pay attention and kind of live in accordance with it. My approach with clients is so individualized, right? And like I don't have hard and fast rules of like you have to do this, you have to do that. Like it's very much we trial and error based on what your body is responding to, and everyone's circumstances are so different. Yeah, I take a very like personalized approach with everyone.
Thank you so much for that. It's really cool to see that you are so knowledgeable on women's health, and it's so refreshing to hear that if you do decide to go back into that medicine space, that there are just women like you, doctors like you, that are really putting everything into consideration before prescribing just like a pill, or just like dismissing our actual things and just it's just hormones. Like,
Right.
yes, and like I think our hormones can use a little help from us by choosing what we're putting in our body, how we're moving our body, and listening to our bodies. I love that you are also not like luteal phase this phase that. Like, yeah, it's so intuitive.
Some things that are healthy make me feel really bloated, and
Mm,
like it took me years to figure out that I had an allergy to whey, and it just
wow.
was a stomach ache, and I wasn't sure why. And so everyone is so different, right? And so I don't like to be like, you have to do this and you have to do that. Like at the end of the day, we all know what's best. We just have to, we're so used to, I think, externalizing our choices to a diet, to a provider, to whoever, that we've really lost touch with our intuition and lost touch with what our body actually wants and needs. And I think that's part of the work that I do with clients, is like teaching them to tune inwards and start to pay attention to what the triggers are, what the cues are, like how does your body feel after you eat that, whatever you had, and like,
Mhm.
what were the emotions at that time, and like what, just starting to pay attention essentially is the biggest thing.
Do you think what we eat also affects like anxiety and depression, like our mental health?
1,000%. It does. It does. Personally, just in my own personal journey, let alone the many people that I've also, seen this happen. It is so linked. It's incredible. And the thing is, it's kind
Yeah.
of a cycle, right? Like if you are eating really processed foods or like a diet high in refined carbs and sugars and whatnot, you are probably going to put on weight. That weight is going to make you not want to exercise. And then on
Right.
top of that, if you're drinking a lot of caffeine and all of this and you're eating late into the night, you're probably not going to be sleeping as well, which means you're going to be like not sleeping enough really messes up your hormones. So your hunger hormones and your fullness hormones essentially are doing like they're turned on and off when they shouldn't be when you're not sleeping enough.
Oh,
So
wow.
sleep deprived, your hunger hormone stays on and your fullness hormone is not working the way it should be, which is why if you've ever had a sleep deprived night, or like maybe you couldn't sleep the night before, all of a sudden you're looking for sugar, you're looking for caffeine, you're looking for that quick fix. And that's part of the reason why. So part of it is like when you aren't eating as well, you are probably going to be putting on weight. And then if you are drinking a lot of caffeine and eating late and not sleeping well, you're going to be craving foods that are not great. And so it's kind of this cycle. And if you're not moving your body, we know that there's so much evidence now to show that like not moving is not great for your mental health. It's all very, very linked. So what you eat absolutely does impact your mood and your energy levels. And yes, it does make you anxious. Like even just, I have a client right now that I'm walking through this process, and just the epiphanies of like recognizing the day-to-day habits, the things she's eating, the amount of caffeine she's having, and how that's been linked to her anxiety. It's so gratifying to watch this epiphany happen and then see them heal from that, like I think that's why I do the work that I do, is I just want to teach people that they can heal themselves and that you have so much power, and that the little things that we do every day, they add up and they make a huge, huge difference. So that's why it is the best to create a foundation now for vitality, because we can live well into our 70s, 80s, 90s, even 100, right? In good health. I think if anyone's seen the blue zones, we've seen evidence of that, right? So I used to think that ill health was just a part of life, but now knowing what I know, that's not the case. You just have to be building the good habits now.
Mic fucking drop. That was incredible. Thank you so much. I hope you don't ever stop posting the content, because I do get incredible value from it. And I know that, as a woman who is, brown too. And thank you so much for being on my show, on my podcast, and sharing your wisdom with my audience. How can they work with you if they did want to find you and work with you? All your links will be below. So guys, check out the links. But what do you have going on in your world that they can join?
So if you take a look at my Instagram, it's Millie Mohan MD. I have a link in the bio if you want to book a free consultation call. It's a free 30-minute call. My calendar is there, so you can feel free to book in that way. I also have this supercharge your energy free starter kit on my website, and that's milliemohanwellness.com. So if you wanted to download that for free, there's some tips and some resources. I have some recipes in there as well. So feel free to do that. And then typically every month I'm running this free 5-day, I call it the Vitality Boost Challenge. And in that, it's 5 days of emails. Each email, there's a 3-minute video with some action tips. It's meant to be like a healthy reset, all based on lifestyle medicine pillars. And you'll also have access to my Facebook group. And I'm active during the week, giving tips, and people are asking questions. And it's just really fun. I would love to help anyone who feels like they are kind of stuck in their health, or feeling burnt out, or, wanting to build that foundation of vitality.
Amazing. Again, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure.
This is so fun.